Everybody, I hope you all had a great weekend. Sorry I missed Monday stream, but I had a plumber here all day and he was hammering and sawing away at pipes and walls, so I don't think that would have been very good for a stream. Plus I had to be there in case I was needed for something, but anyway, I'm here today, so let's get to it. So even though I didn't stream, I did spend the time that I normally would, well, when I could, working on this a bit, and I was able to finish a lot of the terrain. Specifically, we had these triangles to finish up, and you can see that they're blended. It blends between the three types of triangles, or wait, yeah, the three different terrain types, and it rotates them so that this point always touches the hexagon who shares its terrain type, or the parent. And yeah, you can see it here. The color is actually blending, not just little placeholder dots. And here's a three-way right there. Yeah, so it's all working pretty good. Oh, you might also notice I added rotation, a random rotation for the hexagon faces. Before, these yellow dots used to all point north. And that was actually not too difficult, although I did have to... yeah, before we had a nice little function that was just like set UVs, but unfortunately I couldn't keep that, so I had to separate one out for each type. Well, it is what it is. But so for hexagons, we basically just loop through each ring and then every point on the ring, and it picks a random rotation between 0 and 6, and it just adds that to the point where we pick the interpolation data. So it kind of applies the interpolation data for a specific UV or a different point to the point that we're trying to set, and so it just rotates the UVs around. And yeah, I think it'll be nice to add some randomness. In a similar idea, I added random flipping to the rectangle margins. I couldn't really do anything random to the triangle margins because they're set up in a specific way. I guess you could kind of mirror, like, because I want this point to always be rotated so that, well, I should bring up the texture. So this point right here is supposed to always match the parent hexagon. So we could flip it along this axis, but that's not easy to do, so I didn't worry about it. If I want to do it some other time, we can look into that, but... But in general, mapping UVs to texture has actually been a little easier than I thought it would be. So yeah, I'm pretty pleasantly surprised. One thing I did not test though is increasing the subdivisions. So let's add just one subdivision to each and see that it still looks okay. In theory, it shouldn't be the same. I mean, in theory, it should look the same. Okay, so there are some bugs. Looks like it has to do with rotations. Okay, well, at least the triangles and the rectangle margins look fine. It's just the hexagon, and I have a feeling that it's due to the rotation, so I probably just got some logic wrong. Yeah, we can see that most of the distortions appear along the lines of the mesh lines, so... Okay, and yeah, and this one that's where it's just pointing north, where it has not been rotating, is fine, so... Okay. Maybe I just missed some logic. Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually knew this, but I guess I forgot to do it. When you rotate here, you actually need to multiply by the ring index, because of course, we add one vertice for every ring that we go down. So in order to rotate around the hexagon, you have to add another index here. Okay, I'm kind of surprised that didn't throw or cause an error for the center point before, but maybe that was just because it was hard to see, or hard to tell because the center of the hexagon is not, or is this a uniform color? Okay, yeah, so now that looks better. Okay, so I'm gonna yeah, increase this one more time and just make sure that it looks fine for this. Yeah, okay. And these subdivisions, well, they might still be good. When I add a distortion to the hexagons, you'll be able to see, but I was gonna say without a bump map, the distortions don't actually do anything. Speaking of bump map, I think I need to add that back in. Oh yeah, so what should I call? I guess yeah, bump, and then I guess I'll just call it planar, which is in the plane of the terrain. So I'll remember that there's two types. Okay, but yeah, the UVs look fine. Okay, so I'll add this back to 0 because for our testing, we should just keep the mesh as simple as possible. And I guess one more time I'll make sure that it looks okay. Yeah, so everything's good. Alright, so that about wraps up what I did yesterday. There's a couple things that, okay, well this was a big idea I had yesterday because, well, right here. Yeah, okay, this is a perfect example. There's like a gradient texture and it doesn't really look that good as a flat color. I mean, it's not horrible, but I thought wouldn't it be cool if this was an actual grass texture and then like grass actually kind of grew down and then there was a pattern here and then under the pattern you'd see the dirt as it transitions into the dirt. It even like go as far as down here. And there's no way really for me to control that in the current system because I could make that texture, but down at this side, it would be almost completely blended into the dirt. So what I was thinking is, and I'm kind of surprised I never thought of this before, if I use the alpha channel of the texture. And so, okay, take for example, this is like the quote dominant tile. So it is on top of everything else. So anything that's alpha below it would blend into the tile below it. So then I could just have the grass texture and it would be fully controlling this area. But then where the alpha is 0, you could see the dirt below it. And the cool thing, or the nice thing about this is even though I'm using alpha, I don't have to worry about transparency, which greatly complicates shaders because I'm going to make sure that this whole face is drawn between all the textures. I'm just kind of using the alpha values to decide which texture we actually draw. Another thing about that is I don't need the blend values, but I'm still going to calculate them because they're going to be useful for the noise and distortion maps, but we just won't pass them to the shader. One thing I wasn't sure about is like the triangles here because, well, I guess it'll work the same way. Kind of what I would like to happen in an ideal world is that this one would go down here, but then I wasn't sure how these two corners would blend. I guess I just have grass like that and then a little dirt here. Um, but I think I'm going to add the ability for mod authors to like specify a whole bunch of different variations of these triangles. So the shader can like, or the actually it'd be the terrain builder, can pick the appropriate tile to blend these together. But we'll see exactly how that will work. Because I could do something. Oh, well, we'll see. That like right, well, for example here, it sees it, since this is a higher altitude, it gives this side, or this texture, the dominant status, so. And then the game also sees that, okay, well, there's a grass in the clockwise direction, so then it could pick a triangle where the grass texture goes around like this. Or pick a tile. And then this one, which would be like the second dominant tile could just be clear, so it wouldn't actually draw. And then this one, which would be the last tile, would just take up everything that's left over. So we could do a system like that. Thing about that, well, we'll see. I already coded a lot of the shader, so let me pull that up. I decided to make it a separate shader. I have the terrain alpha and terrain blend. Just because, well, it was different enough. I could have done like an if else thing, but I actually changed these structures, so I thought, well, why not just, I don't know, I kept going back and forth, but it doesn't really matter that much. But anyway, so, okay, we have the blend. The blend one has to take in this extra terrain blend value, which the alpha does not. And then, so it has to pass that through in the vertex program. And then here it gets each terrain blend value and then just multiplies that by that tile's texture. So this is pretty simple, but the alpha one actually gets each color and then it combines them this way. And it's a little confusing. I'm not sure how this would work with like partial alpha. So we might need to test that. I don't know. But so basically it just takes the main color multiplied by the main color's alpha. Maybe I should do... Okay, I think I'll rearrange this slightly. This might be equivalent, but... So then we take this other color, but we want to multiply that by 1 minus terrain 1's alpha. Yeah, so it's like a linear combination of them. We could lerp between them, that's functionally equivalent. I don't think it matters. And then terrain 2 alpha, we do the same thing. And then terrain 3 is just what's left over. Yeah, and so if for some reason terrain 3 has, well, I guess that would never happen, but... Yeah, so I think this will work. I haven't really been able to test it yet because... Well, obviously I just haven't gotten to that. We're going to need a separate texture map. And we might need more entries than this. Because I can think of at least I'll want a dirt rectangle. That's like for a dominant and then a lower or a submissive, or that sounds weird. Or recessive dirt, I guess. And I did the same thing for this. I don't know. That's the best way to handle it though. Okay, maybe yeah, before I do that, let's actually figure out how the code would work. Okay, so if I want to flip between blending and alpha, there's not really an easy way to do that because I'd have to probably change the way this works. I guess here in the framework would also have an entry here for the terrain render type. So this could be alpha or blend. Okay, so let's do something a little simple. I think I might change, just to keep things organized, we'll need a hexagon face, which again has no alpha because it never blends with anything. And then I'll want to have a dominant and recessive version of the rectangle margin and the triangle margin, just for now. So I think I might make the texture be 5 by 5. I guess I'll do 5 by 6 in case I want to have like a first, second, and third layer for the triangle. Just to test that. It doesn't have to be square, but I think that'd be simplest. Okay, so that means, how big is this? 512. Can that be, I don't think that's evenly divisible by 6. No, so I might need to just go up to 8. Probably better that way. Okay, so just so I don't make a mistake here. 64. Okay, so that means I need to make each of these little squares 64. Okay, well that makes sense, it's just half what it was before. I probably didn't need to bring out the calculator for that, but no harm done. Yeah, so, okay, these are getting way too small. We're gonna have a lot of artifacts, but for testing, I'll be happy with it. Yeah, that's the only bad thing about using actual textures instead of the gradient method for the characters is that the resolution really does matter. Okay, so we'll have this one. That'll be the dominant, and then recessive one, and then I'll need to have. Oh, I'm messing up the normal texture map. Okay, let's bring these two back over actually to the alpha texture map because I already kind of messed it up. Okay, so I wonder, will it let me switch all of these at once? Okay, well it's actually, I can divide that by 2. That's a big number, so I don't want to make a mistake. 384 divided by 2. Okay, 192. Yeah, I could have done that, but all right. So and then we'll need 3 versions of the triangles. Okay, so I guess we already know that the UVs are mapped correctly, so I don't really need to have this purple background, so I think I'll delete it. Although, it'll be useful to have it around so I can Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I was gonna say it'll be useful to have it so I can tell where the margins are, but if I need to know that, I can always just go back to the non-transparent. Okay, so for this one, okay, this is the dominant one, so it needs to be cut away. Oh wait, let's change this into a path. And then I'll just kind of add in a sawtooth design. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I need to get rid of this part. Do something like that. Okay, and then so the recessive part should actually cover the whole tile because it doesn't know exactly what part is going to be covered. So for this, I'll just pick a darker color. Oh, I don't need to do that. Okay, and the triangles, something similar. Right. Wrong tool. I'll do something like that, and I guess I'll get rid of this. Oh yeah, this needs to be different too. Oh, I did the stroke to path by accident. I don't want to clip or snap actually. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, and then the second, oh, actually I did this wrong because yeah, the tile that it comes from is here. Also, I did the same thing here. The tile, it comes from the bottom up, so this is kind of reversed. That's just not a huge deal, but let's see. I think I can fix that by going object, flip vertical, although now it's not necessarily aligned. I'll just kind of do it by eye. I think this is good enough. And then this one, okay, well actually, yeah, this is all wrong. So I guess I'll just delete that and start over. Back on snap. Okay, how about I just get a little fancy here. Oh, I think I did that backwards. I gotta select this one first. And then if I add a clip, yeah, that just set the object that, and then I can delete the outsides. Okay, and then the second, actually not sure if we're, oh, well, if we're the second one, we'd still be this edge, but the game would rotate the texture around to be appropriate. So let me see. Let's do a circle just to be different. Okay, and then you can delete the rest. And then for the last one, they can actually stay because it's not going to have any alpha. Let's change the color. Slightly darker, and then this one will be much darker. Alright, so I'm going to test it on the dirt before I do the other two terrain types. See how it looks. Let's get rid of this blue bar as well. And I guess that, since it confused me because usually it's supposed to be facing away. I don't really need these dots actually anymore. So I think I'll just get rid of them because this is going to add noise. I needed them before so I could know orientation, but I already have that figured out. Oh, terrain texture alpha map. Okay, that's fine. I wanted to make sure I didn't actually delete the blend, but I guess I could just regenerate it, so it's not a huge deal. Okay, so I'd hate to change these because if I ever need to go back to the blend mode, it'd be nice if I could just keep this around so I could switch between them. I guess I'll just have a comment here. Comment this out. So blend mode. Maybe I'll put the comment at the beginning. Okay, so now I just need to, yeah, if I ever need to test blend mode again, I can get these textures back. I could also, well, it's not easy to do right now, but I could just have a separate mod that uses the blend mode that I could load in. I guess I'd do that in the future. But for now, this will work fine. I really think that this alpha mode is going to be better in most ways, so I don't see switching back to blend mode. But I guess some other mod author might like that type of art style better. Some other mod author. And since I already have it implemented, why not keep it? Alright, so here, this is going to be it. And so for these texture claims... Oh, I don't know why I didn't create the ending tag for me. Oh. Did that time when I forgot the slash. Okay, so what I want to do... This will actually be the same for the hexagon face. Okay, so next we have the dominant. So I guess, how do I want to decide which tile is dominant in these blending? I think that by default it will go by altitude, and then if altitude is the same, it will just go by the prototype ID. But I already know that I might want to have better ways to do that. So probably in these claims I should be able to specify like a sorting value, and then also in the block prototype as well. And I guess, how would I decide which value to sort by first? I think by default I'll just go altitude, then sort value, and then prototype ID. Maybe mods can override that. But anyway, so this is a rect margin. Then I want to have, let's see, alpha sort. I guess I can just call it that. So I guess I just have a value in here, but I think I might actually just rely on the block prototypes. So in order to do that, I'd have something here. I should probably put priority here. Okay, and so the lowest value would be the highest priority. So yeah, I think, I don't know if I want Dart to be the highest, but it is for now. Okay, and I'll also put priority here. So you can override on a per tile basis if you want. Okay, and then I need some way to tell that this should be... actually, how does this work? I can't really set a priority in the claim itself because we pick the claim based on the priority. Yeah, so, okay. Okay, so this means that we'd pick this tile when it's dominant in the office sort. And then we'd pick this tile when it's, I don't know what I want to call this, I guess recessive. Maybe base. Maybe I should just call it first, second, and third. That makes more sense. Okay, and then we'll have the triangles. We pick this one or this one when we're first priority, this one when we're second, and this when we're third. Oops, that's not how you spell that. And I guess I could maybe have other versions here, like I could still have dominant to mean that we're the first one, or I could have first or second, or last, or I don't know how I'd want to name those. But yeah, I probably shouldn't worry about that until it's actually needed. Okay, so then I'll need to add that in for stone, and for now I think I'm just going to have everything have these same priorities until I get actual textures for stone and grass. Oh, this is wrong. This should be 4 and 5. Okay. So now, that's taken care of. I need to decide how that's actually stored in the game. And I don't think that'll be too hard. I'll just add another enumeration here. Okay, so alpha sort requirement. And maybe this will be a flags variable. So that way I can store this like this. And that way we can have any combination of first, second, and third. I don't know. I think it does this for you automatically, but okay, so what that means is well, we're using the shift, which is basically taking 1 to the power of 2. So we could do this the same way by just writing out 1 there. Or 2 to the power of zeros. Since this is a binary, the shift operation just takes a binary number and shifts all the bits to the left, which is the same as multiplying it by 2. So when you shift it 2 to the left, it multiplies it by 4. And so this is just the way that people usually write flag variables. And so now we can store these values, or this is, I said those backwards, shift to the right, but anyway, same idea. These flag values, we can store any combination of first, second, and third in this alpha sort. Which I'll show in a bit. I think we've used flags before in this project. But it's a nice way to store a lot of Boolean type data in one integer. Okay, so now I need to go and load this information. Okay, so also, where should I store the terrain render type? This pretty much has like all the other terrain data, although this render type is not really a metric. I guess I could just store it right here. This will just be an enumeration. Oh, did I accidentally delete the... Oh yeah, I deleted the period, so it added CS to the end. Okay, so I guess I like to leave the default as something unset, and then we'll have blend and alpha modes. Oh, that's something that Unity actually uses. Probably for its terrain. Okay, we can just use that name. Alright, so now when I go load the mods, I don't have to load... Oh, well, one thing I do need to do is add those new fields into the mod objects. So I guess I'd have public string terrain render type. And in the block prototype, I need to add in that new stuff for the texture claims. Public integer terrain alpha sort priority. And then here I need to have a string for the alpha sort requirement. And the last thing, terrain texture, I need to... Or did I add anything to this? No, I didn't add anything to this, so never mind. Okay, so now in the asset organizers, I can load in that data. I think I'll just go ahead and do the render type and this terrain texture because it's similar. So we'll switch. Oh, I guess I need to make sure. If loaded framework, table of contents, terrain render type. Okay, I forgot at the beginning. String is null or empty. So if they don't set a render type, we need to throw an error probably. Or we could just assume it's blend mode. Probably okay. Yeah, because if it's alpha mode, then it would need like specific handling, but if it's blend mode, then any texture will work. Okay, so database. Okay. Otherwise, we'll try to set the enumeration. So to upper invariant. Again, that's just to make it case insensitive. Okay, so pretty simple. And then I'll need to have, or throw an error if it's some other word that we don't know or we don't understand. Okay, so terrain render type set to, what should I do this? I guess unknown terrain render type. I can actually hit the period. There we go. Oh, and I don't need a break there because I throw an error. Okay, so that's all I have to do there. And I don't have to do anything else here. So in the block prototype, I need to deal with the new sorting values. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I set or I store the priority here. So terrain alpha sort priority. Okay, so I guess 0 will be the default. Yeah, because everything will just be 0. Could handle it another way, but I don't think there's a way I can actually tell if, like, because of the XML loader, if they don't put anything in here, I don't think there's a way I can tell that it was actually read or not. So let's set this to -1. Because what I was trying to say is that if you set this to 0, or if you don't enter any value here, that's effectively the same as setting this value to 0. Alright, so what do I need to do here? So I guess I just pass this through. Because there's no invalid values. And the claim, I also... Okay, well now we do have to do something similar to this. Why is it not like that? Does not exist? Oh, I went outside of the loop. I should probably just pull this out, although then it's gonna have something weird. Okay, why don't I actually make this a separate function? Okay, we can just return the value actually. So what did I call it? Texture. Okay, block texture, alpha sort requirement. Get alpha sort. Okay, that works. And I just need, I don't need the logic data, I just need the mod data. Okay, we actually don't care about this at all if the sort mode has been set to, or if it's not alpha, then we don't even need to deal with this. Oh, okay, I actually want this. Oh no, this. Okay, there we go. So not type, it's alpha sort. So what happens if it's null here? That means that we don't care about the alpha sort, so it's just all three types. So we would return first. Okay, and this is the logical OR, or bitwise OR, which means that we basically add these together. So we'd use this when it's first, second, or third. Okay, otherwise, we'd go through this switch statement. Okay, and I don't know, do I want to add anything else here? Right now I just use first, second, and third. Maybe I, like I said, shouldn't try to get ahead of myself. But I could see there at least being like an ini, so... Oops. In which case we just add this. Or like I said, a dominant, but I'll wait to implement that. Because it doesn't really make sense exactly what that means for a triangle. Okay, so anyway, I guess I do need the debug name. Okay, this is too long. There we go. Oh, sorry, somehow this text got shrunk. I hope it wasn't too small. Okay. Alright, so now I just need to call this new function. So that would be the logic claim dot alpha sort equals get alpha sort requirement, and I pass through the mod claim and then debug name. Alright, so I think that's all I have to do in terms of loading from mods. I guess before I go any further, I should test that out. Okay, it's gonna compile everything. So this is set to fine. Fine. Oh, that's another thing I need to do. The I need to load this texture instead of the past one. I guess I should add this in here again in case I ever need to use the blend mode. And I'll need to rebuild the asset bundles to use this new texture. It's going to take a minute or so to compile. Another thing I did, I just remembered during my time yesterday, was right here you can see, I don't know if anybody would remember, but used to I passed the 4 UV points of this square, but I went ahead and just passed through a rectangle because it made the logic much easier in the UV generation system. Because before this was just like creating that rectangle every time, but there's no reason to actually keep the individual points. And if I did ever need them, I could calculate them from the rect anyway, so that was just a bit of optimization that made the game logic much easier to deal with. I guess it's done now since I can actually click on things. So I'll open streaming assets, which is where the mod data is held. And the asset bundles is where we just built that new asset bundle, which has all the models and textures that the mod will need. Okay, so now we should be ready. When I play it, hopefully everything will load correctly, but there's probably a typo somewhere. Oh no, okay. Okay, so it looks really weird. I think because right now it doesn't... Okay, I think I know what's going on. So right now it just randomly picks a texture. So for any rectangle margin, it just randomly picks one from here or there, and then for a triangle, it just randomly picks one of these 3. That's why we can see... I was trying to figure out why we could see all variations. But yeah, that's the reason. That's because right now the tile picker does not care about what type of... or what priority it has. Okay, so let me see here. There's a couple things I have to do. First off, we need to reorder, or first we have to figure out the priorities for every tile. And then I have to reorder the UVs so that they don't necessarily match up with the board indexes as given. The first UV needs to be the one that's drawn first. Luckily, the order of the UVs doesn't actually matter that much for the rest of the logic, so if I change these around so that it doesn't match this board index, it's not going to cause any problems as far as I remember. I don't think anything else uses them, so... but also... I need to change it so... Okay, well we'll still generate the blend values because I think, like I said, whenever I add height distortions and everything, these blend values are still going to be needed. Oh, by the way, I think I did this yesterday too. And it's just like converting from Cartesian coordinates to the triangle barycentric coordinates, which is just how we smoothly blend between the 3 points of the triangle. It's like some matrix math. Very fun. I did get a lot done yesterday, I forgot about that. But what I was going to say is that I'm going to update the visible mesh generation first, I guess. So we only need UVs if we're in the right terrain mode, so I think I'll make a function here. Or wait, we only need the blends, I mean. Need blend. Or let's do this. waiting is waiting on blend values. So we'd return database. Oh, do I not have a reference to the database? Okay, I guess just didn't store it. So now we do need it. If the terrain render type is blend, and also it's not complete. Okay, I'm sorry if you hear that. Somebody's decided to do their yard right while I'm trying to stream. Okay, this is old. And then yeah, if we're in blend mode, then I don't even need to do this. Or if we're in blend, not in blend mode, I don't need to do this, I should say. And same with this. I picked the wrong variable there. And another thing I did, where is it? The terrain, yeah, display link. So I have two materials here, one for blend and then one for alpha. And it just, right now it only sets the blend texture. Oh, so I wasn't even, okay, so no wonder it looked weird. It was still using the blend renderer. What I really should do, let's see. Material, using material. So if database. So I guess I'll default to the blend type if for some reason the game gets through with no render texture, or render type, which should not happen. But so if it's alpha, then I'll want to use the terrain material alpha. Terrain material blend. And then I guess we only have to set the texture for the one that we're actually using. And then we'll want to set the material here. That's what this does. Okay, so hopefully I can still play. Because I kind of like to see what it looks like before I update the UVs. Okay. What's the deal with these little orange bits? Oh, I think it's just artifacts because the terrain resolution is really small. Yeah, so I might need to increase the terrain size to actually get a good look at how this will work. But yeah, so this is happening because I think well, it's just hard to see. It looks like it's only ever using one texture though. And I would have thought that since there is some alpha that it might, in some of these it might show up correctly just on virtue of randomness, but it looks like it only ever draws one. So, what could be causing that? Is the alpha not being passed through? Oh, this is just RGB. I need to give it RGBA. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, we don't need... Okay, so I guess the format of the texture will also depend on the terrain blend type. Yeah, at some point we might want to let mods specify, or the framework mod should be able to specify what type of texture every mod needs to use, but because unfortunately they have to be the same type in order to work with the texture array. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, the terrain texture. So here we have the format. Okay, so let's see. Texture, format. And then if I did set the render texture already, so I can just do it this way. So it's DX25 it said, so. Yeah, so DX21 for this, and DXT5. Oh yeah, so not crunched. I need to like look up what the differences between all these are. Like maybe I want to use that one. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter a whole lot right now. Okay, so the problem before is that the game wasn't even passing alpha values from the texture to the shader. So I think every alpha was just 1, so it never blended anything. Obviously that goes against the whole point of the shader. Apple, I don't want to do this. It always asks me during streams. Okay, so now we can see a bunch coming together. Okay, so this is kind of funny, but I think it's just because it's two dominant ones blending together. And so it would look more like this, except, gosh, that's horrible. Such a low resolution, that looks way worse than I thought it would. But it'll be fine for testing. And then here we can see 3. Although it's funny that the circle is not... Like, it looks distorted, but I wonder if that's how it looked in the... Not quite so bad. Maybe it's just because I'm not looking at it straight on. I don't know. Well, the thing is, they're all stretched. They're not, like, perfect triangles. So, yeah. The margins are always going to be slightly weird like that just because they're not always the same size. Okay, but at least there is alpha blending, and I think the shader is working how I want. Oh gosh, that looks bad right now. Okay. Alright, so yeah, this is working now. Okay, so for here... Okay, so the hex face is actually exactly the same. So I guess this I should pick as alpha sort mode. Okay, so right now we only check the tile type. Let's have a separate function. I don't know, that's going to be kind of a pain. Okay, let's do it this way. Block, texture. Those proto text. Oh. Okay, and then this is the usefulness of using the flags, is now I can check any combination of the alpha sort flags I want by just using this bitwise AND operator. And it's kind of like, so basically if any bit in this value, which corresponds to either first, second, or third, is set to 1, and alpha sort for that same bit is set to 1, then it will actually pass through the bitwise operator, and that means it won't be equal to 0. Although, yeah, so that's how we want it to work. But if the sort, like if something is 1 here and then 0 here, then it would be 0 on the after the operator. So that way, basically we want to look to see if this number and this number have some bit in common. And if they do, then that means it passes our filter. I hope that made sense. But if you're curious, you can just look up Boolean logic. It's basically the base of it. Okay, so this is good, but one thing I need to do is I have to actually figure out which tile is dominant and everything. Okay, but for hexagons we don't really care, so I should just have an any value. Okay, so now when I use this any operation, that just means either first, second, or third. Or any value, I mean. Okay, yeah, so the hex face, that should still work. Let me... I guess I'll test that to make sure. Oops. Oh yeah, it's going to complain because the other pick tiles don't have anything yet. So let's just also pass any through. Taking a while to compile that. Okay, so I was looking to see... Okay, this is kind of interesting. Now it seems to always pick the dominant value for everything. Why is that? Okay, but I was mostly looking to see that the hexagon face was not black, which means it didn't pick anything. Or I guess there would have been an error. Let's look at debug. So I want to see the block prototypes. Okay, so alpha sort any and none. Why is it? Okay, so that's not right. For some reason, the dominant one is being set to any and everything else is being set to none. I must have messed up on the logic. Okay, well, first of all, I can also now just change this to any, which improves readability. Yeah, so I definitely return first. You know what? I probably... Yeah, I think I shifted the wrong way. I always get that backwards. I think you want a left shift to make something bigger. So basically I was just setting everything to 0 there. Oh yeah, so now it's working right. First, second, third. Okay, so now it's again just picking a random value for the margins, which is what I wanted to see. Alright, so what's the next step here? Okay, I guess here I need to decide if the board index or the neighbor A is the dominant in this blending. Okay, so first, let me see here. So I guess for triangles, I can use the transitive property. But would I still need to test all three pairs? Let's see. First, I'll just do like a comparison between two. Yeah. So private. Let's not return anything. Okay, let's do assign sorting. And then I'll have out and okay, so what do I do here actually? Okay, the thing is this make UV I. Okay, so what I need to do is pass out the block index sorted, and then I'd pass that to the pick tile right here. Okay, so sorted A, or let's do this first, second. So again, I'm gonna go by altitude first. Which I can get that using the layer height. Or the layer size. Okay, well actually I should convert this to an actual hexagon. Or a hex position. Because this way I can use both the layer and the column and row if I need it, which I guess I would need to break ties. Because I don't really want any randomness to be in picking priorities. Alright, so yeah, we'll go by altitudes first. So if xa.layer is greater than xb.layer. This is gonna be kind of messy, isn't it? Maybe an easier way is to have like just a 3. Okay, so let's try not to. What am I trying to say? If I just have a 3 index list, then I can just use normal sorting to sort these values, and I won't have to try and handle it myself with these out variables. I'll never need to sort more than 3, so I can just have a array of 3. Although, can I do easy sorts with an array? list sort there. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then I want to provide a function for this. So sort list. Oh, that's not how you do it. Okay, so that does work. Alright, so I just need to have a sort function here. Okay, so alpha, let's see here. I can make this, oh yeah, so I need to just, I return an integer and then it just takes 2 integers as a value. Okay, and I'm also going to what's the word? Keep from having any garbage by caching this function right here. So alpha priority sort. And the reason that this happens is because every time you pass in a function like this, it has to create a new function object if this function is not static. And since it isn't static, then I should cache it beforehand. Just to save a little bit of garbage, because we will be calling this quite often. Or it will be called once for every section, so... Why is it not like that? Does not exist? Oh, I spelled it wrong, of course. Okay, so anyway, yeah, if these are not equal, then I can just return. Okay, so the one that's at the beginning of the list, like it always sorts ascending, so what's it not like about that? Huh? Cannot convert, but I just did it. Maybe I have to, sometimes you have to explicitly cast. Well, okay, well, let's not worry about caching it. I'll figure that out later. I don't know what's complaining about. Okay, I just need to return a comparison int instead of a function like that. It's the same thing, but whatever. Anyway, so it sorts ascending, so we want whichever one has the higher layer to appear first in the list, so I need to subtract hex b dot layer from hex a dot layer, because if a is higher, then this value will be negative, which means it will sort a earlier in the list. Okay, but if they're equal, then we'll go by some priority value. So let's see. Priority A equals, okay, well, I'm going to need to get the block prototypes now. Equals battle. Oh, wait, no, it's database. Block prototypes. Battle. Oh, I actually will need the prototype IDs. Okay. Proto ID is database. Oh, no, not database. Battle. Board. Map. Okay. And I guess I should put A at the beginning, or at the end. Okay, so now we will sort by their sorting values as given by the mods. So if proto A dot... Oh. If these are not equal, then we'll do something else, but if they are equal... Oh, I did... Oh, wait, yeah, if they're not equal, then we want to sort by this. Okay. So again, we want the one with the lowest sort priority to appear first in the list. So this time I need to do it the other way around. And we'll return proto A, train alpha sort priority or minus proto B. Because if A's priority is lower than B's priority, this will be negative, which means it will be sorted first. Okay, and we can also just do it like this. And then, so if these are the same, then we'll sort by their IDs. A does not equal proto ID B. And I think I'll just sort ascending here as well. It doesn't really matter because this is just kind of the break ties. I did it backwards. Or not backwards, but wrong operator. And then if that does not break the tie, I'll break it based on row. I guess I could just block it based on their index now instead of doing rows and columns separately, because that's pretty much identical. Then, okay, so I guess I won't do else. These will never be equal, so this is the final tiebreaker. So yeah, we do layer first, and if they're the same, we do the sort priority as given by the mods. If that's the same, we do it by the prototype ID, and if that's the same, we do it based on its position in the map. So yeah, there should never be a tie now. The only thing I could think of I might want to change is that maybe a mod would want this priority to go before the altitude. So maybe we'll do an option for that, but I'm not going to worry about it right this second. Okay, but anyway, so now we have that. So I can set... Oh, right, and then... So the list... I don't want to have to rebuild this list. Okay, well I guess there's two options. I could just have a 2 variable list and then a 3 variable list. And I could also just have it so that if block B is negative... well, that's kind of a pain. So let's, yeah, have 2 values here. Then private int sort list 3. Oh, come on. Press the right number, please, fingers. Okay, so I don't need to do this here, but copy that code. So hex face doesn't need to worry about that at all. But here I need to do sort list to 0 is section dot oh, I forgot the equals, that's why it was getting confused there. And then sort list to 1 is the first neighbor. Okay, and then we sort. And then here, instead of passing in the indexes directly, I just pass in the sorted value from the list. And I think everything else will just work. Okay, there's nothing else. Nothing else relies on that in here. So I'll do something similar for triangles, except Obviously, I'll use the sort list 3. And then I'll need to pass that in here. So again, now the, like, okay, well for blend mode, oh also, okay, how do I deal with if I have blend mode set on? Well I guess if we have blend mode set on, I just don't call this array sort. So yeah, let's do that. If database terrain render type is blend, then we don't sort. Because at this point, it's important that the order of the UVs match the blend values and the blend colors. But if we're not in blend mode, we don't have that, or we don't actually use the blend colors. So we can rearrange the UVs in any order we want, or the UV arrays in any order. And I want to arrange them like this so that the shader knows which to render first. So I think we're finally ready to test it. Oh, I did this backwards. It should be if... I'll just do it like this. If it equals alpha, we'll sort. Okay, so I think we're all good. Okay, it's not... Okay, so here... It should be the other way around, I think. But is it... Yeah, it's not consistent. Because it, like, picked randomly. Because what I was thinking that since this is a dominant one that's the lighter color, if the layer is higher, it should be facing the other way. But then here, it's not having the same pattern, so it's still randomly picking. So what is going on? Either the sorting isn't working. Okay, so let's just do, that's gonna be hard to test. Okay, let me play it again and then I'll take a look at some of these debug values. Because there could be a few things that are wrong. So first of all, this alpha sort. Oh, okay. It's something simple. These sort requirements don't, we're not taken care of. Okay, so again, if we're in blend mode. Yeah, so if it's not alpha, I guess I should just pass any here. Because that just means it doesn't matter. Otherwise, I'd have to add another check in the UV generation system. Because if it's blend mode, obviously it should just disregard this, but... I guess I could do that, but... Okay, let me see. Bool is our meets requirement is text dot type equals tile type. Okay, and so if database terrain render type equals, okay, if it does not, or if it equals alpha and this is not set, then we need to set the meets requirements to false. So Yeah, if this equals 0, then that means that they don't have anything in common. Which means we'd want to reject it. So we'd say that is false now. Okay, and then if we meet the requirements, we'll add it to the possible tiles. So if we're in blend type, this will always be false, so it won't even... Or, yeah, if we're in blend mode, this will always be false, so it won't ever execute that. Which means that basically this alpha sort does not matter. So I think I'll go back to passing none here, just to kind of... That makes more sense. But anyway, I'm not ready to test just yet because I need to pass the correct requirements here. So this should be first, and then this should be second. And then first, second, third. One thing. Okay, so what happens if you set a rectangle margin to third? It should probably throw an error. That would happen here. Okay, yeah, so if, actually, also, if you set anything besides first to a hexagon face, it should throw an error because there's no blending. I think I already set that up. Yeah, here. So if the claim.type is, oh, it didn't. Oh, I don't pass the logic claim with me. Okay, well, I guess let's pass that through. So I actually need it. There's no real danger in passing it. Okay, so anyway, if it's a hexagon, then we want to throw an error here because it doesn't make sense. As okay, how do I want to say this? Of X type with invalid sort requirements. Okay, so I'm going to be a little lazy and just say with invalid sort requirements here, because this one only happens if it's a triangle. Okay, so that should fix that. Because yeah, like a rectangle margin never has third type, so if there's one that's set to only render on a third sort requirement, then it would never be rendered. So we might as well catch that error ahead of time. Okay, so now I hope it will pick the correct texture. And it's still going to look ugly because it's too low resolution, but at least we'll know the system is working. It's not what I expected. This is what I want, but it's reversed here. That's correct. But one thing I do notice is that it is consistent. It always picks those two, but they don't always face the right way. Okay. Oh, you know why? This is going to be... It's because I always assume that the second one needs to be flipped. But really I need to flip. How would I have to flip the one that is the neighbor. Okay, so what do I do here? Okay, I've been thinking about doing this for a while. Changing these board indexes instead of being 3 different values to just a 3 value array. Or even, it could be a variable length array. And so that way I could do something like the sort list would actually contain an index, and then I don't know if that's actually going to help me much. Another way I could do it is okay, let's see. Flip first Z. Okay, well I guess yeah, so I want to flip the first one if sorted list, or let's see, sort list to 0 is the neighbor. And then okay, well I guess I can just use not flip Z1 as the same as flip Z2. Okay. So that's a bit messy, but I guess it works. And I'm gonna have to change a bunch of code. What I need to do here is instead of just... let's not get into that. Let's make sure this works. Okay, so basically if something is higher, yeah, this looks fine. That is fine. And then, yeah, it should always move north because it goes, the one with the lower board index, which is farther south, has higher priority. Okay, so I think this is working. Yeah, this is 0, so 1. Yeah, so it should be higher than that. If they're equal altitude. And then down here it's going to be confusing because some of these are actually stone even though they have the same texture, so it should flip. Although it's hard to tell where that happens. Although wait, no, dirt has -1 priority, so it's higher than stone and grass. But something's happening right there. But yeah, it's hard to tell because everything shares the same texture right now. Okay, so at least that works. Let me do something similar. So I think... Alright, int lerp, or let's say rotate mult1. Is like the index of the board index in the sorted list. Oh, what's the best way to figure that out that's not super messy? Is there an arrays index of function? Okay. And sort list 3 section board index. So we gotta do the same thing. I don't know. Like, I thought that it might be easier to have these word indexes be an array, and then we'd put the array in here, and then we'd sort the... Or we'd put the indexes in here, just like 0, 1, 2, and then sort those. But then we'd have to do like a double array lookup right here. I don't know, I don't think it's gonna really help the code a whole lot. The only thing that would help is that here I could just say rotate molt1 is sorted list index 0. But anyway, and so here, okay, so I've got to do this for all three now. So the math here is kind of confusing. So I do the number on all edges, which are kind of just going around the triangle, and so that's what this p-value is. And then so we add the number on an edge except multiplied by the rotation multiplier, which basically like rotates the triangle or the UV around the triangle points. And then we have to do this modulo to loop around so we don't go out of bounds. And then we add 1 at the very end because index 0 is the center of the triangle, so we just want to skip over that. So theoretically this will work. Let's make sure. Okay, yeah, so the dominant one is here, and then the second one is here because this one is on a lower row, which means it's sorted first. Yeah, that is correct. So what's going on here? So this one should be dominant over this one because it's on a higher altitude. And this is wrong as well. Okay, so I'm rotating based on the priority, which is not necessarily true. So okay, what I need to do is that these rotates need to be 0 when that UV is the board index. Okay. Okay, I think I don't need these sort lists anymore, so I think I'm gonna... This is a bit hacky, but I don't know. 0 I less than... I don't really want to make another sort list. No, I don't really have to do that. It's by definition 3. Should I... Okay, so if I change this so that this is just the index and the board index array here, then it's already set up that I can just pass sort list 3 as the multiplier here. But I'm gonna have to change so many systems. This was a little bit short-sighted of me just to use a value though. So I just changed this to be like board index is 0 and then 1. Like, it's not that difficult. In fact, I could even do a find and replace probably. I wonder if it would let me do that. So board indices. Oh, let's do it. That's not good. No, it won't let me put brackets, unfortunately. I could do a find and replace, but I'm afraid it's going to affect things in other namespaces. I don't think I can tell it to only change. Well, I can tell it to change in like open documents, can't I? Oh, that's asking for trouble. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and do this. I should have done it before. Okay, so what I need to do... Okay, so for our hex face, we only have one, so it'd be section dot board index is 0 equals that. Yeah, I don't need the 0 there. And then margins just have 2. Does get rid of that useless -1 variable. So, I mean, this is way cleaner, but I'm just not looking forward to having to update everything. What's wrong with this? Oh, I forgot the new. Okay, but thankfully it's going to be easy to convert, and so I don't think this should introduce any errors in the code. Okay, so I'm just gonna go down one by one because almost every system uses this, I think. Okay, not blending, but almost every. Oh yeah, I knew there was something here. So this would be board indexes 0. I think I'll just paste this, or copy and paste it. And neighbor A is number 1. Okay, simple. That won't do anything. What about this? Nope. Triangle, yeah, there should be a few. Oh yeah, because this is the collider. That's what I was looking at a second ago. But it's not really that complicated. Does the layout? I don't think so because it only depends on the section type. Which is why I was thinking someday I'll be able to change this to be like generated before we actually generate the real terrain, and then everything can just use the same layout values. The normals, they just need the positions. Nothing there. Yeah, the positions do need it because they'll use it to distort, which I don't use that yet, but... Oh, do I? Oh, I don't think I actually call that, because yeah, I commented it out because I wanted everything to be regular for now. Yeah, this won't do anything. Okay, well that wasn't actually as bad as I thought it might be. We just had the UVs left. Okay, so this one is simple. So what I need to do here is, instead of just using the board indexes directly, I just pass 0 and 1. And so the sort now actually takes an index. What should I call this? I guess section index. Oh, and now I need to somehow save the current working section, which is a little weird, but working section. And I'm gonna be sure to null that out when I'm done so it doesn't keep it around. Okay, so anyway, to get this block A is really simple. Equals working section. What is it? Is that the block indexes? Oh, board indexes. Okay, so that's not a real problem. And hopefully it'll simplify everything here. So we flip the Z. If sorted list 0 equals 1. Okay. Oh, also, one other thing I need to do is here I don't pass. Well, I guess could take care of that. So this won't be a block index. This will be the section index. And then I can get the block index the same way. I guess now I don't even need to pass this through, but doesn't make much difference. Okay, so here, okay, so now I just need to multiply these by the sort list. So sort list 3, 0, and then sort list 3, 1. So yeah, basically whatever one corresponds to the base block, or I guess the parent hexagon, would have 0 in this list, and so that means we won't rotate it. And then the first neighbor would be rotated, and then the second neighbor will be rotated twice. I think that's the right way to do it. Now that I think about it, let's look real quick at the layout generation. I may need to do a quick switch between the 1 and 2. Okay, so number of unique points. Yeah, so this goes from counterclockwise to clockwise. So which one? Oh, it doesn't actually. I'm trying to remember which neighbor is the counterclockwise. I think that's B, isn't it? Well, I guess there's one way to test. I think I might have to switch 1 and 2 and those multipliers. Alright, index out of range. Oh yeah, it's not going to take me to it. But this is... oh, there we go. So the section index is out of range. It comes from setup hex face. Oh, I already... okay, I just need to pass 0 here. Yeah, I did that before I updated the pick tile. Oh, wow. Lost track of time. Well, hopefully this will work. I think I might need to mess with the triangles a bit more. Okay, so this is highest. Yeah, this is not correct, I don't think. This one should be the lowest though for sure. Like this is right. That's right. Shouldn't this one be the next highest priority though? So it should be like that. Doesn't seem to be completely consistent. Okay, yeah, so this is the second priority. I guess if they're... Okay, this one's right, though. That's right. I thought I found one that I didn't like. Yeah, right here. Or is that higher... No, that's not higher altitude. Although, wait, this is stone, isn't it? Okay, so this is right. Okay, because since this is stone, dirt has a higher priority, so this one gets second. Okay, phew, I almost went on a... Well, a goose chase that wasn't needed. Okay, so yeah, before I go any further testing anything, I should definitely get in some good, or at least different textures for the tiles so I don't make another mistake like that. Let's see. Basically that, did that, and mode toggle. Okay, so let me just bring in colored textures for stone and grass, especially test triangles. I think it's all set up, but... And if that's true, then I think we might be done with the UVs for a while. I don't know if I'll do this anymore, because with alpha blend mode it wouldn't really make sense, or it's already supported, kind of. You would just have the dominant one, not have any alpha. I do need to do this. I don't know why this is in the UV section. I did implement it in the shader. Okay, so I really just need to test it, and then I think we might be ready to try to get it looking nice with real textures, which I'm pretty excited about. But I guess that's it for me for today. Well, I might come back on later because I think I'm going to work on that platformer I started last week. So if I have a chance and my voice is holding up, I'll try and stream some of it, but I'll definitely be back tomorrow around noon, so feel free to follow me on Twitch here or on Twitter, and I'll be sure to tweet out when I go live. I also have a YouTube channel where I upload past videos if you're interested in catching up, and a Discord channel where you can chat with me throughout the day. I'd love to have you there. But I think that's it for me, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.